All right, everybody, we have a huge week. It's called the Great Balancing because at the end of our CIRF week from September 26th to the 2nd of October, welcome to October, we have a new moon annular solar eclipse in Libra, as you probably already know. We also have a very close to a Mercury cazimi at the time of the eclipse. That will also be very interesting. And we have a grand water trine. Gosh, we just have so much to talk about, don't we? So, where do we begin? Annular solar eclipse, new moon in Libra. We have the grand water trine, and we also have the Mercury combust. Those are the big ones. We also have a square with all that I mentioned, the eclipse and Mercury over to Mars. That's the square. And so that's going to create the storm that the poised sea captain will be able to navigate seamlessly. The dream bot is the collection of dreams around the world, and I'm calling it the symbolic version, or the live indicator of what the collective unconscious is doing. And it's all over this eclipse. It's collective decisions, it's agreements, understanding. I mean, it includes the Mercury part of the eclipse in Libra. It's very Libra dominant, very obvious. The I-Ching is more focused, I think, on a couple of things. Realize that this majority of this week is part of the great wind down that we talked about last week. In other words, we're in that last moon phase. We're in the waning crescent of many different cycles. So it's the great wind down, and that's part of this retreating, but also the square and Mars. So in other words, the I-Ching is focused on the bulk, the majority of the days. 6 days of this week are in the great wind down, i.e. retreating. And then on our very last day of the CIRF report, that's when the eclipse happens. So the I-Ching is focused on the days leading up to that. All right. High congruency score, but clearly the I-Ching, the Dreambot, and the Tropical all generally agree. And it's the conversations and agreements of justice, aka the Great Libra Balancing. All right. Ready to go? Let's do this. Big shout out to Not For Me To Say 30. Great handle name. He says, feels like I'm in a fishbowl or outside looking in. Not sure. Great comment. Everybody else liked it too. And had a conversation with a client just this morning about this sort of fishbowl feeling. So that's interesting. I don't think you're the only one, Not For Me To Say. All right, let's get into the Dreambot. And here you go. Boy, yeah, it's just, without going through so much detail, the word September is still at the top. We are in September, but it should be aging out here pretty soon, especially in October. That'll be interesting to see how fast the baselines change. I'm just curious about that, but it's clearly indicated here as I read this linguistic set. These are all words that are just bunched together. Know, the word K-N-O-W, know, understand, anonymous, ever, continuing, agree, choose, change. We are agreeing. I almost think this anonymous thing is not going away. The word anonymous is actually increasing in the Dreambot scores. And I'm almost thinking the anon thing, that's just my guess, is why that's so. And we have like anonymous whistleblowers and people trying to get word out, and there's kind of a censorship kind of a thing in this anonymous deal, or the need to be anonymous because we're so censorship heavy in today's world. Other than that, we have all these Libra words: choosing, continuing, agreeing, knowing, understanding, very mental things. So that's obviously includes Mercury. Anyway, just a really interesting Dreambot, clearly indicated in the eclipse. Now, as we get into the astrology, this is the big picture chart. So we're ending the Aries eclipse cycle, beginning the new one. They go every 6 months, thereabouts. October 2nd, we cross the threshold into a Libra cycle. And so all these new moons and full moons are in service of this Libra eclipse cycle. So as you set your goals for the new moon for your 30 days, because this is also a new moon, and every new moon we create a 30-day lunar goal set that has to do with the tropical astrology, in this case Libra. But keep in mind, these goals can be relevant for the 6 months as well, because the eclipse lasts for 6 months. And even though we're going through all these other new moons, these are going to be in service of the greater cycle, which is ruled by Libra. And then we have our energy window we're inside of, and this lasts until the 3rd of November, in my estimation. And it's called the Magellan of the Collective Tempest. So our first full week of this new energy window, we have the spine of steel that we're going to look at. We're going to have this grand water trine, which and some squares in there that produces the pressure cooker. But we have the experienced sea captain, the war veteran, the Magellan. This is the Magellan, the guide, the calm guide, because of all the experience that he's had. In the top view of our last remaining days of September, we have the Mars trine Saturn. This is going to be our poised sea captain, and it's part of our grand water trine. And then we have the Mercury Cazimi over here. Goes exact on the 30th, last day of September. First 2 days of October obviously includes the eclipse. And then also in October, we're going to see the full moon in Aries on 17 October. With that, now let's funnel down into this week. And this is our energy chart, intensity chart. And the overall energy is just the great balancing, the Libra eclipse. And because Mercury starts in Libra, and also because eclipses are felt much, much broader, much further out than, say, your new moon or full moon, these start about a week out. Full moons, new moons are more like plus or minus 24 days, 24 hours. So we have Mercury in Libra, we have the eclipse being felt further out, and it just gets stronger and stronger. And the eclipse happens on Wednesday. All right, now let's get day by day. The first day, Thursday, the 26th, we get into Mercury going into Libra. This is the graceful negotiator, especially because Sun is already in Libra. Mercury in Libra emphasizes the art of diplomatic communication, smoothing over differences, finding middle ground, maintaining harmony in the realm of ideas and interactions. The graceful negotiator excels at seeing all sides of an issue, engaging in balanced, fair-minded discourse. However, they may also struggle with indecisiveness, conflict avoidance, losing their own perspective in the pursuit of pleasing others. So you might feel like you excel at mediating conflicts and finding win-win situations, maybe creating a balanced, harmonious communication and relationships, engaging in charming, socially adept self-expression. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that the kite that we've been talking about for the last 2 weeks technically is still here, but the big directed point here is all in air. We have both Sun and Mercury in air sign, so it's no longer a grounded or earth-based kite, but an air one. And it's also really waning out, so basically call it done for now. You've got it will come back alive with the moon as it transits through Virgo, but for now, pretty much waned out, because especially since this new grand water trine is making its way. We just have Venus that requires just a little bit further progress, and boom, we've got a grand water trine that dominates, and the kite will be out. On Saturday, we have a couple of big things that are going to be big factors during the eclipse on all week. All this energy is just getting stronger, as that intensity chart showed. The first thing is this grand water trine. This is actually the first of several grand water trines in this energy window. We have Venus in Scorpio, Mars in Cancer, and Saturn in Pisces. This exact grand water trine goes from September 28th to the 10th of October. And on the 5th of October, it's the tightest orbs, just in case you're interested. And this grand water trine archetype is the poised sea captain. It's an old sea captain deeply attuned to the vast ocean, able to ride out turbulent storms. He has weathered many emotional voyages over the years and alchemized those feelings into wisdom. The wisdom's coming from Saturn, and Mars really cares because Mars in Cancer, and it's all very emotion. It's emotional waters, and that's what we need to navigate through. We'll also have a lot of intuition there because of these players. Then we have the Sun square Mars. And we might as well include in just conceptualizing Sun and eclipse. So in the future, not today, but the eclipse will be here too, and it'll be tighter square to Mars. This isn't going away. It's just getting stronger throughout the week. And we also have Mercury that will square Mars as well. Anyway, this is the diplomat's dilemma. The overall configuration, this square resembles a situation where a normally balanced relationship-focused diplomat archetype, that's the Libra emphasis, has their equilibrium challenged by the need to have some difficult but necessary conversations. That's Mercury, that trigger emotional defensiveness and reactivity. That's Mars in Cancer and includes the square. So you may feel a greater sense of self-awareness around communication patterns, potentially blind spots, might feel a little defensive, especially on things you really care about. Might feel an air of clearing the air and creating a healthier relationship dynamics just because of the emphasis in Libra. But when you combine these two things, the grand water trine, number one, and the Sun square Mars, at least for now, you get the battle-scarred diplomat. The battle-scarred diplomat balances yin and yang assertiveness and tolerance, empathy and action. He's seasoned by setbacks. The battle-scarred diplomat is a master of transmuting turbulence into forward momentum. The diplomat alchemizes adversity into opportunity. All right, then we get into Sunday, and we have one of the legs of our grand water trine goes exact at Saturn trine Mars, and that happens at 11:06 p.m. if you're interested, on the 29th of September. This is the compassionate commander. So not only is he poised and wise, but compassionate as well. This symbolic leader harnesses the power of emotional intelligence, visionary wisdom, and mature self-mastery to take purposeful action in support of other people's well-being. Very compassionate. May feel emotionally intelligent, able to balance assertiveness with wisdom and compassion, protector of inspirational ideals and rigid traditions. On Monday the 30th, this is where Sun and Mercury go exact in Libra in terms of azimuth. That's what most people call cazimi. I personally have learned to look at the inclinations as well, and we see Sun and Mercury outside of a parallel situation. And so I personally don't see this as a true cazimi. It's really up to you to tell me, do you feel this amazing mental acuity, perfect memory, crystal clear thoughts on this day, Monday the 30th? If you do, let me know. And maybe I'll change my opinion on this Mercury Cazimi at 8 degrees and 11 minutes. But otherwise, I'm still seeing that Mercury and Sun are combined into one, into the heart of this light, and it's broadcasting out. But technically, Mercury is still sort of a combust. Doesn't mean it's any weaker, just means it's putting a lot of protons, a lot of light, a lot of understanding into the mind. So might be a little choked up there, might be get a little backlog. But nonetheless, this archetype, Sun and Mercury combined and conjunct into Libra, is the harmonious liaison, and it's feeling the need to protect because of the square over to Mars. This is the ultimate people person, gifted at gracious communication and building bridges between individuals and groups. The harmonious liaison thrives in using their social charm, tact, and persuasive skills to create a sense of perfect balance and cooperation in relationships and shared endeavors. On this day in particular, and headed into the eclipse as well, you might feel easily see multiple perspectives on any issue, maybe more diplomatically persuasive and using negotiation skills, maybe more mentally adept at fair-minded reasoning and finding win-win situations. And for that to be true, it'll be much closer to this. The closest point is right here at 4:09 p.m. Central Daylight Time on the 30th of September. On Tuesday, this is that very brief resurgence of the kite. It's the Earth-based kite because the moon is at the helm, so very discretionary, very precise emotional content and grounded kite, right? With the grand Earth trine, very transformative, by the way. It's the visionary builder resurges here on Tuesday the 1st, right before the eclipse. Here we are, Wednesday the 2nd. It's the new moon in Libra, is also an annular solar eclipse, and what happens here is that the moon is a little bit further away, apparent to Earth, and that makes us see the ridge line, or the very external part of the sun shines through like a ring of fire. Ring of fire in Libra for an annular solar eclipse. But as you can see, there's a lot more happening than just the eclipse itself. So we have the eclipse, that's the great balancing. That's picture right here. You have the conjunct Mercury, that's the cosmic negotiator. And so you put that together and you get a powerful resetting of mental patterns and communication dynamics towards fairness, justice, and balance. Mercury, part of that, strengthens the focus on diplomacy, mediation, and harmony. Then you have the square. You have a triple square over to Mars. That's the frustrated peacemaker. This friction challenges the eclipse balancing act, introducing an element of confrontation, probably defensive,ness, and probably a conflict that must be reconciled. That's the Libra part. And then we also have the Grand Water Trine. It is getting even tighter in its alignment. It's the poised sea captain. These flowing trines create a supportive undercurrent for navigating intense feelings, right? So put all that together on the day of the eclipse. You get the shape-shifting set of scales. You get the cosmic counselor. You get the alchemical ambassador. It's all in one. And it's this eclipse, it is like a set of scales, shape-shifting for mental ideas, flowing emotions, back again. It reminds us that the path to world peace begins with healing the war within. That's why we also call it the cosmic counselor. As we learn to integrate our own shadow projections and honor our opponent's humanity, we become ambassadors of a higher harmony. Libra's drive for equilibrium is challenged by tension with Mars, yet supported by the grand water trine's wellspring of emotional wisdom. So here's the great balancing right here with our annular ring of fire. That's all included in that picture. All right. Remember, too, this is a new moon, and it's a new moon in 2 cycles. You got the 29-day plus cycle. That's our standard new moon protocol where you're looking at the tropical sign and building some goals for the 30 days. But you also have the 6-month cycle. So you can create goals, not just for this 30 days, get started on it this month, but how about using these for the grander eclipse cycle? So some options to think about are strengthening your connections with the people around you. In other words, like maybe seeking more balance in your relationships, learning how to communicate better, maybe improved conflict resolution skills, better negotiation skills, promote justice and fairness, possibly engage in creative activities. There's this balance thing, balance in all things. One of them is like work and personal networking and expanding your network, something you could look at. Improve communication skills, review legal matters. You could probably plan financially, personal finance, pursue something of knowledge, especially with the Mercury in there as the energetic stamp here at the time of the eclipse. And the eclipse itself is the annular solar eclipse. You can see here on this chart, here's the map of where you're going to see this. Nobody in North America will see it. The only folks are in this path out in the middle of the ocean, Pacific Ocean, I believe. Don't quote me on that. The only people in South America that will see it are Argentina and Chile, I believe. I think there's some Azores or some other obscure, maybe Easter Island folks out here. Do we have anybody from Easter Island? Don't know. I don't even know where Easter Island is, but it's out in the middle of the ocean for most of this path. And other than that, but that doesn't mean if you can't see this annular solar eclipse, it doesn't mean that you won't feel it. You still have the energy profile all over the globe, right? Or the flat earth if you're one of those folks. All right, let's get into the I-Ching 33 and line 4. Line 3 says to be blocked using retreat brings misfortune. You might feel this week, based on the I-Ching in line 4, a sense of pressure or adversity, a need to be strategic and careful, a desire to conserve energy. There might be an internal conflict, maybe a balance-based conflict, resignation, accepting that retreat is necessary, possibly. And again, this is the time leading up to the eclipse moment because we are in that great wind down with the lunar phase. Might feel a lot of dignity. Despite retreating, there's a sense of maintaining one's integrity and principles, a sense of making mature decisions. So let's button this up. And let me give you the summary slide for the influence. Here we are. Annular ring of fire, Libra eclipse. What will the great balancing of the annular solar eclipse in Libra feel like? Well, it depends. It will be a karmic response to past individual choices. Justice is an effect. It's an inevitability of the great pendulum. As such, the result will be individually experienced, perceived, and assimilated. The presence of Mercury at the position of the eclipse means guaranteed mental assimilation, regardless of the experiencer's level of acceptance of this great balancing. The energetic backdrop includes the grand water trine. If you tune into this, the energetic pressure system, which is the square to Mars, can be navigated calmly like a poised sea captain. But if you choose not to, well, there's the energetic effect of that. We all live in a cause and effect world. And so the key to success in life is in your reactions. So we have both. We have probably a stormish, kind of an emotional storm, if you will, from the Mars defensiveness and just really cares about things, maybe overly cares. But we also have the Grand Water Trine, which brings wisdom and the spine of steel and the ability to really handle a lot of energetic pressure. All right, we'll look at the solution next. Stay with me. And we start with the I-Ching. We did 33 last for the influence and then put in the change line for line 4. And we get these suggested behavioral recommendations. Move forward, but take your time. Slow down when feeling behind or winded. Focus on behaviors and routines that are easily sustainable. Enjoy the journey. Don't forget to focus all your attention. Don't focus all your attention on the goal or destination, but practice enjoying the journey. Foster patience and mindfully quiet the mind. Have some adaptability in life, especially if life derails your current vector. But for a steady pace, the I-Ching 53, it's recommended that we don't be too meandering and too free-flowing. We want to kind of stick to one or two things, just simplify. All right, here's our conversion chart from tropical to sidereal. We have the eclipse at 10 degrees, 4 minutes of Libra, tropical. And that puts us at 48 of the Rave mandala. And it gives us Virgo, sidereal. And that is, if you're interested, on 2nd October on Wednesday at 1:49 p.m. So here is the Rave mandala, hexagram 48, gate 48, the well. And line 1 is called insignificance, an instinctive recognition of what is practical and deserves attention, a taste for recognizing what is practical and deserves your attention. And if you're interested, at the time of the eclipse, Mercury is in line 3, which is called incommunicado. And I thought that was interesting. Mercury is the conceptualizing, the thinking, the awareness planet. And it's either going to be like a Mercury combust, so it's sort of cloudy mind, or no communication at all. And I'm almost thinking incommunicado symbolizes no communication. So I'll just throw that out there. All right, and let's button up our solution, triangulate. Here's what the recommended steps are to take this week. We have steady pace. It means keep going on something straight and narrow. The Rave says, what deserves your attention? We have sidereal Virgo. I think this is probably the 3rd week in a row, and we have the new moon solar eclipse. So all that said, we have a very tight alignment and speaks directly towards a gradual, methodical, and mindful approach this week. Spend time with things, projects, and acquaintances that add value and are worth your time and attention. Don't get too distracted. There is wiggle room for shifting and adapting, but going deeper on less items is going to be better than an endless list of meaningless tasks. With the new moon solar eclipse, it's also about starting new projects or objectives. Use the tropical system, which is going to be Libra at the eclipse, to design your lunar goals, and then use the sidereal system, in this case Virgo, in how you go about behaving. It's not what you do, it's how you do it. That's the sidereal. How you behave towards those goals. So go forth analytically, modestly, industriously, critically, and with a discerning mindset. Pay attention and stay focused on your lunar goals. keeping a steady pace on things deserving your time and effort. Clear as mud. Here is your plant of the week. You can take a snapshot right there, and we'll read a little bit of this, but not the whole thing. So if you want the whole thing, do a snapshot and you can zoom in and read the entire excellent slide here. So we're going to be looking at sagebrush because its focus is on Venus. Venus rules this eclipse. The desert sagebrush, one of over 500 species of genus Artemisia, should not be confused with the plant sage, Salva genus. The Artemisias in general are excellent for purification and dousing. Many are edible, such as mugwort, but many are not, such as sagebrush. What's interesting in this paragraph is that sagebrush, when we've already made a distinction that sage and sagebrush are two different things, and yet both of them apparently have been used in traditions to smudge areas and cleanse. With a smudge stick or burning a stick wrapped of dried sagebrush, smoke clears the air. And then, since ancient times, wise men have been referred to as sages. Wise women in ancient times were called sagas or sagas, which is another word for stories or tales, especially epic, multi-generational, family digest, or histories. There is a story in the plants and trees shared here so far as well. A path, if you will, for those that resonate, is to find boundaries and balance with nettle, purification and protection with mugwort, sovereignty and strength with oak, speaking truth with yarrow, clearing the karmic cycles, that's a big one, with sagebrush and mother elder, the phoenix with skullcap, and dreaming with the blue lotus. That's putting all the things together that we've talked so far. Doesn't matter what your story is, the truths so far are self-evident throughout the chapters. We got this, humanity. Where we go one, we go all. This was crafted with love by Sean Elizabeth Nelson, so big shout out to her. All right, everybody, I will end on this summary slide. We have both the influence now, which is the Libra eclipse, or the great balancing. Looking forward to lots of conversations about agreements around justice, balance, the great balancing. And I think another week again of just being mindful and careful, not living in fear, but paying attention to just doing what deserves your time and energy and attention. Other than that, I hope you all have a great week, a wonderful new moon experience, a solar eclipse that is out of this world, even though you can't see it. And where we go one, we go all. Love and light, everyone. See you next week.